Welcome to MilSpouse Matters, the podcast dedicated to encouraging military spouses. I'm your host, Jen McDonald, and I was a military spouse for 30 years until my husband retired. We lived all around the world, raised 4 kids, and dealt with all the challenges and adventures of military life, just like you. Over the years, I came to believe that we military spouses are only stronger together. So whether you're a new or more seasoned spouse, whatever life is throwing your way, let's talk about it. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the MilSpouse Matters podcast. I am Jen, and today we are going to be talking about how to help your marriage thrive during deployment and separation. But first, a little bit of catching up. It's been a bit since I've put out a new episode. There's been a lot going on. I have a new grandbaby, so that's taken up some time. I've been traveling a lot, and probably the most time-consuming thing over the past months has been finishing up my book manuscript for my second book. And that is coming out October 10th from W Brand Publishing, and it's called MilSpouse Matters, Sharing Strength Through Our Stories. And it is a collection of stories of my life, along with stories from across the generations of military spouses, from widows, from the Vietnam and Korean War eras up to modern day spouses. And I hope it will be a help to the military spouse community. And I think help you realize that you're not alone in what you're going through. And I think hearing stories from other people sometimes helps you so much in coping and getting ideas and realizing what you're going through. Maybe other people have been there too and can help you. And if you're interested in being part of the book launch team, again, it's coming out October 10th. I'll be sending out notes during this next week about that. Basically, you would get a copy of the book, and I would ask you to make a post about it on your favorite social media platform. So if you're interested in that, then there are still openings, and you can just find the link for that in the show notes, or just go to my site and look for that link. So podcast schedule for this fall, I have a lineup of amazing guests coming up. We're going to be talking about all aspects of taking care of yourself this fall, from mental health to physical health and tips and tricks. Also some organizations and resources that you might not know about to support you in your military life. So I hope you'll tune in as we put out some more episodes this fall. And I'm also hoping to relaunch my Christian MilSpouse podcast. I've taken quite a break from that with just kind of a tough year this last year. So I'm hoping to get that back up and running. So recently, I invited listeners to share your experiences of how you and your spouse helped your marriage thrive and even strengthened your relationship during deployment. I know that can seem counterintuitive when you're apart, but it really can happen. One of the most surprising things about military life for me was how much of it would end up being a long-distance marriage. When I first got married, I didn't realize I'd be spending so much time apart from my husband for the coming years. And while Steve was deployed or away on temporary duty, that became another issue over the last decade. He was just gone back and forth over and over with TDYs, temporary duty. So I was grateful for the ability to text or chat when we could. Past generations would have marveled at that technology, but delays, dropped calls, and frozen screens are still poor substitutes for being together. And sleeping alone night after night and the prolonged lack of intimacy can wear on you as well. And not to mention all the decisions you're making alone, both big and small, special moments, milestones missed. I certainly wasn't expecting to go through labor and deliver a big-headed baby without my husband there. To blame, to help. And I don't recommend that scenario if you can avoid it, but sometimes it's just unavoidable. But I will say the separations and goodbyes, they don't necessarily get any easier, but you do get stronger. You can learn from each experience and add coping tools to your tool belt. But can you actually strengthen your marriage through a military deployment or separation? I do believe that yes, you can, and so many other spouses chimed in and shared their thoughts about that too. You just need mindfulness and intention. So first, I will share a few of my tips, and then we're going to be hearing from some other military spouses who've been through deployments. So my thoughts are, stay connected with your spouse however you can. If you're able to video chat, then great. But if you only have occasional phone calls or can catch up by email, Fill them in as much as you can with the dailiness of life that they're missing that helps you stay connected. My husband often expressed that one of the hardest things for him about being away was feeling out of the loop with all the little things that go along with family life, from baseball game scores to grades, or even what I was doing on a given day. My kids also liked feeling like he knew what was going on in their lives as much as possible. And I've mentioned this before, but you can't cram everything into a phone call. So write notes in a journal or write little notes and put them in a jar for your spouse to catch up on when they get home. Maybe some milestones or things that were special about a day that you just want them to know about later. This may not seem like a marriage tip per se, but I do think it really does help. Practice gratitude. It keeps you from falling into a negative cycle. And I have spoken about this before too as well. I think the 3 things, I started this back in, I believe in 2020. I had heard it somewhere and my brother had just passed away. And then we had been hit with COVID and I found myself sinking into a really negative space. So this is something I started back then I still do every single day. I do it every morning. I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. That's the first thing I do when I'm drinking my coffee because I do a little devotional prayer time every morning. So before I get into what I have as far as needs go or other people, I always try to think of 3 things that I am grateful for and focus on those. And it can be something simple like coffee in your cup, the fact that you are in a home. There's lots of people around the world that don't have that. And I feel like when we're faced the bigger problems of something like deployment, focusing on those little things that we're grateful for can help ground us a little bit. So in my book, You Are Not Alone, Encouragement for the Heart of a Military Spouse, I thought I'd share some tips from day 24 called Together Yet Apart. So this is page 117. Some of these will apply also to temporary separations. So whether you can do these during a deployment or not, take what you can. Simple things matter. A quick call or a text letting my husband know I'm thinking of him and missing him means a lot, even if he can't respond right away. Even a little emoji can just send that message that they're on your mind. How was your day? I read a survey recently that said couples who ask each other about their day on a regular basis have a higher marriage success rate than couples who don't. Why? My theory is that it shows they are thinking of the other person and are truly interested in what happens to them. Handwritten notes. Now, this would apply more to a TDY, or when they're first leaving for deployment, tuck sweet notes into their luggage for a nice surprise. On the flip side, when my husband leaves for a trip earlier than I'm awake, which happened a lot, a quick kiss on the forehead and a note waiting for me by the coffee pot made my whole day. And this kind of goes back to that whole note writing part, a running email or text. I did this during one very long deployment where I just would write things in an email, send them at the end of the day, and when he could catch up, he could catch up. So often they're caught up in their day-to-day life during deployment, which is very time-consuming, and communication can be spotty or non-existent for days. So I'll send little notes of what's going on at home. I did once ask him if it was annoying for him to get that continual stream of messages, and he said, no, I actually like it, and it helped him feel connected to just what was happening at home. And let's be honest, I usually have a lot more words on any given day than he does, so it does help me feel connected to think I'm still filling him in about the goings-on. And this is an important one that might seem like it's not that important, but it really is. Talk about your spouse. Don't let your spouse be out of sight, out of mind. They're still a part of your life, whether at home or not. Uplifting your spouse, even when they're absent, has a powerful effect on you and on those around you. I'm going to take a little break to talk about some of our sponsors. Recently on my Instagram, I highlighted some cucumber cooling eye pads from Spa Life. They have generously offered a discount code for my listeners on all their products. Take a look at the link I'm sharing. You will find skin brightening and tone vitamin C serum, hand gloves, face masks, night serum, great self-care products, and even anti-aging treatments. So if you're looking for something to pamper yourself with, take a look at Spa Life. And Spa Life is generously offering a 20% Amazon discount code for my listeners. Simply use the code 20SLOWDOWN in all caps in your Amazon cart for 20% off. Since I was diagnosed last year with celiac disease, I am always looking for good gluten-free snacks. So that's why I'm glad to bring to you the Monk Pack Nut and Seed Bars. They have all sorts of flavors: pretzel dark, caramel sea salt, coconut almond, macadamia white, pumpkin seed, sea salt, dark chocolate. So yummy. Monk Pack 1 gram sugar nut and seed bars only have 1 gram of sugar, 0 grams of added sugar, no sugar alcohols. They're keto friendly if you're into keto. They're plant-based, gluten-free, and non-GMO verified. These bars are great snacks. I travel a lot, and so sometimes I can't even get gluten-free food on the airplane. So I always bring my own just so that I don't get hungry. So these are great to bring along. They're healthier, better for you, nutritious, no artificial flavors or preservatives, and they are delicious if I didn't mention that. So you can subscribe and save 10% or get 10% off all Monk Pack nut and seed bars on Amazon only with the promo code, all caps, save the number 10 MP. All of these coupon codes will be in the show notes. And I do appreciate you listening to these sponsors because they do help support the show. So here's the last one. If you're tired of the little flimsy plastic grocery sacks or you would like to use something reusable, I received an amazing sample of these ultimate extra large reusable grocery bags and versatile storage solutions. And they are so sturdy. They're basically like a little cube that stands up and has handles on it, and it can carry up to 40 pounds. So once you use them for your groceries, you can then use them at home for storage. They also break down, they fold flat, they fit neatly into your trunk or even your purse. And they are reusable, they're great for beach trips, picnics, and they reduce plastic waste. So take a look at the Vino 2-pack extra large reusable grocery bags at the link in the show notes. So now on to some tips from other military spouses for how to help your marriage thrive during deployment. So from Instagram at GetSwell, they said, one thing that comes to mind is practicing gratitude, taking each time to write down something you're thankful for, keep it in a note on your phone, in a physical notebook, or write it on small pieces of paper and add them to a jar. Other people can contribute to it, and it's something to look back on at the end of the deployment. At the PCS planners added, hey there, military spouses, your resilience and strength inspire us all. Deployments can be challenging, but together we can conquer them with grace and wisdom. Here are some of my top tips for navigating deployments. Stay connected with other military spouses for support and understanding. Create a routine that provides stability and comfort during this time. Take care of yourself. Self-care is essential. Lean on your support system, family, friends, and your military community. Celebrate small victories and focus on the positive moments. And remember, you're never alone on this journey. Amy at Wieza said, deployment is hard. I'm nearing the end of deployment number 2 in a marriage of only 4 years, and it can be brutal. Be compassionate with yourself about how you feel and let yourself process. Don't let anyone tell you how you should or shouldn't feel about your spouse being deployed. Your journey is unique, and no one can tell you how to ride the waves. Some may say, stay busy, but that may not be what is best for you. If you need time for yourself, take it. Don't feel like you have to occupy every single moment of every day. Sometimes you need a day to rest, to cry, to yell and scream. Totally been there even in these last few months. Show yourself grace and know that so many people have your back. At Adrian616 says, take one day at a time. Treat yourself. Flowers are joyful. From Facebook, Katie said, my husband deployed in August of 2020, and we were still in the thick of COVID, but I tried to get out and do as much as possible with my 1-year-old. It's so hard missing all of those special milestones, but my best tip is take all the photos, all of them. I wrote him letters for every major holiday, birthday, anniversary that he would be gone for him to open on those days overseas. We would video chat when we could, but we mostly communicated through text to relieve the pressure of having to get everything out in under 5 to 10 minutes. And that's smart. That's something I think I might have alluded to, but yes, don't try to spend those short phone calls getting everything out because you're just going to be frustrated. Anyway, back to Katie. She said, thankfully, the deployment flew by for us and wasn't a bad experience at all. Stay busy, stay in contact, and stay close to the Lord. Rebecca Jean says, deployment is hard and there is a real temptation to play the whose life is harder game when talking with your spouse. Don't go there. We can share our struggles and express our gratitude for one another without insinuating that one has it rougher than the other. I think that way we stay on the same team and avoid resentment. And visual countdowns to the end of deployment never worked very well for us because extensions are the worst. Hey, and if you never experience deployment, you never get to experience a deployment homecoming. They are the best. Marjorie says, my husband is on a ship when he deploys, so communication is spotty. When he pulls into a port, we make a point of having him call just to talk to the kids, usually before dinner. Then he and I talk after the kids have gone to bed. I also send an email with a quick recap of the family's day, just so he can feel like he's involved in the day-to-day. This also frees up our time on the phone for other conversations, as I don't need to try and remember and tell all the things that have happened during the weeks between phone calls. The Arroyo family shared, we had several ways to stay connected. We read a book together, and at least once per week, we would talk about it and discuss it. I did a private photo shoot for him and updated it several times during deployment. We had a countdown calendar with different activities for the kids and scheduled several topics during the deployment to discuss between him and I. When we were able to talk on the phone, we made it the priority of the day, and we prayed together every day. Someone gave me the following advice. God is calling you into deeper intimacy with him during your husband's deployment. It stayed with me because I learned to depend on God so much more, to practice gratefulness and have a more positive outlook on life. Melissa shared, we watched shows together and then would talk about them per episode. He sent home surprises for the kids and sometimes me too, which helped give everyone something to talk about. Naseem shared, I am not an active milspo anymore as my husband retired 5 years ago. But in 2015, we had a deployment, and oh boy, that was no fun. I had 2 young boys to take care of as well. So I would say Facebook calling feature was the best if you can use it. My husband would call us and show us any fun places he visited, and he talked to our boys via Facebook chat, and we kept him involved in our daily situations, and that helped tremendously. So in closing, every deployment looks different, especially if you have little ones that you're taking care of. It's just exhausting, and much less thinking about trying to keep your marriage thriving and strong, but it is so, so important. I know some of you are dealing with your spouse in places like a submarine or out on a ship where there's little to no communication, or in an austere location with little chance for calls, much less getting to FaceTime or do video chat. So hang in there. You have got this, and there's so many of us that are rooting for you. If you would like more tips, see the link in the show notes for all the deployment episodes and blog posts on my site. There's so much there, whether you're facing a rapid deployment, helping your kiddos cope with a deployment, or even getting ready for reintegration after deployment. Until next time, I'm so glad you joined me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember, you are brave, you are strong, and you've got this. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to the MilSpouse Matters podcast. You can connect with me at jen-mcdonald.com or on social media as @MilSpouseMatters. You can find even more military life support with my books, You Are Not Alone, Encouragement for the Heart of a Military Spouse, and MilSpouse Matters, Sharing Strength Through Our Stories, as well as my other podcast, The Christian MilSpouse. Love the show? Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening, and then share it with someone else who could use it too. Until next time, have a great week.